Hey there, fans of brotherly love wrestling. It is I, Vic Delicious.
Philly's own, the Mecca here.
It is the real McCoy, J.D.X. Justin D. Xavier. And
it's your man, CD, the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend RJ City.
Hey there, brotherly love wrestling. Bill Carr here.
Hey everyone, this is two-time guest Wheeler Yuta.
Two bozos from Philadelphia flapping their gums about pro wrestling this, pro wrestling that.
Which is not that unique in the grand scheme of things yet.
You are in for a treat because you're tuned in to Brotherly Love Wrestling.
Philadelphia, are you ready?
No! They said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome, everybody, to Brotherly Love Wrestling. Today we have a guest on the show, and our guest is making his Fightt Pro debut.
First-time guest for us.
First-time guest on September 8th, Goondependence Day in Gloucester City, New Jersey. He is the big bad kaiju. He is Mr. O'Shea Edwards. O'Shea, welcome to the show.
What's going on, fellas? How are y'all doing today?
Good.
You barely fit in that screen.
I just got from the gym too. That's the reason I was running late, because I just got back from the gym. So I saw what time it was. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go ahead and wrap this set up and let's go.
Was it shoulders day?
It was chest and shoulders today.
Yeah, the pump's there. The pump's there. Right from the gym. Be jealous, everybody watching. Be jealous. It's a gift.
So, O'Shea, to start off, like I said, you're making your Fightt Pro debut on September 8th.
Hold on, I want to ask him. It's related to this.
Okay, go ahead.
Who's your least favorite goon?
To be honest with you, man, I don't have a problem with any of them.
Ooh, that's not what I was expecting.
They've never really. It's one of those things, man, where it's like they handle their business over there. I handle my business over here. The two never really intersect, so I have no reason to have beef with them whatsoever, and they have no reason to ever have beef with me. Our worlds don't touch.
Interesting. I genuinely, I was wondering, because if I were to ask 99% of the people, they would at least have an answer.
That's true. But again, that could change come September 8th. I mean, the goons are in charge. The goons are in charge. They basically are doing whatever they want to do. They threw the violations and everything out the window for Fightt Pro. So, I mean, that could definitely change.
Yeah, the violations and whatnot, but you're used to that. You wrestled in Ring of Honor. You know about the way that Ring of Honor does it is kind of similar to the way that Fightt Pro is doing their thing. So it's not like you don't know the rules, but I mean, rules are meant to be broken. I guess that is one thing that does.
I mean, and that, man, the goons are a lot of things, man, but they're not stupid. So they're not going to do anything to me that was really going to piss me off. Because, like, why would you do that? Why would you bring one of the biggest guys to walk in that door and then purposely piss them off? Like, once again, man, there are a lot of things. Suicidal ain't one of them. So, I mean, you know, it is what
it is. So, we don't know. There's nothing announced yet for your upcoming debut, but just to work on a card with a group like the Goons, and also announced, and I don't think he has a match yet, is Brian Johnson, the Mecca, also former Ring of Honor roster member. What is your history with Brian? And I mean, you guys, I mean, not many people get along with the Mecca. Let's be honest. But what was the working relationship like?
Well, me and Brian are weird. We breathe rarefied air, man. We are like we came out the last Ring of Honor dojo class together. So when I came up here to move to Maryland about 5 years ago, Brian Johnson was one of the first guys like I legitimately talked to. I can see why people don't like Brian Johnson. I can get why people do not like Brian Johnson. But because of that, I love Brian Johnson. Yo, man, the Allen Iverson step over, man. I'm not even a Philly kid, but the sports fan in me, I rejoice at that every single time he does it.
Yeah.
Like, man, that is Philly's son right there, man. Like, if it's anywhere near Philly, do not bet against Brian Johnson, whatever you do.
I mean, does it come from like the you say whatever's on your mind type mentality? You don't hold anything back. I mean, you're not necessarily talking shit in any way, but he pretty much speaks what's on his mind. Whether everybody believes what he's saying, that's left to their devices. But I mean, he's a straight shooter. I mean, you seem like you're pretty much a straight shooter too, and you're willing to back it up anything that you say.
And that's why me and Brian always got along. We could always like talk to one another because I knew exactly where I stood with Brian Johnson at any given day. All you do was ask him. He'll tell you exactly where you stand with him, and that was it. And you could respect it because it was legit. And that was the one thing I always remind out of most people, anyways. Like, you're gonna talk to me, man. Hey, don't bullshit, man. Talk to me straight. Like, where do I stand? Like, well, we got to do this, that, and the other. And Brian's one of those guys. And the best thing about Brian is, yeah, Brian's gonna say something that you're not gonna like, and Brian doesn't care that you don't like it. It's not his job for you to like him. And I can dig it, man, because that's real. I wish more people in this world were like that, where I don't care if you like me. I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
Now, me and Joe have said time after time on our show that one of our favorite times in wrestling, unfortunate timing of it, of course, but during the pandemic, when a lot of other shows, I mean, understandably, were lackluster, it seemed that Ring of Honor really, really stood out, found its footing, and in our opinion, was the best wrestling out there at that point. I mean, with the return of the Pure division and the way that Ring of Honor was shooting all of its television, what was it like being in that foxhole with that roster and that company, and going through the pandemic and being that good? Did you feel like you guys were at that level?
But because from top to bottom, it wasn't about just one person.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we were trying to do something that wasn't being done at the moment, and we understood that like all it took was one jackass to screw this thing up for us, and we're all out. So it was one of those things of, man, you had a group of people who actually could just think about the greater good instead of like the individual gain, and this is ultimately what you got for like a year.
Mhm.
But at the same time, man, and that foxhole, man, that bred some killers in that room, like up and down that room, and there's just some killers in there, and people who you wouldn't expect much from. Those guys showed out because they were hungry and understood. Yo, man, I know there's nobody in this arena right now, and I don't care because I got 15 minutes to go out there and show my ass. And that's exactly what I'm about to go do, because I don't know if I'm ever going to get this chance ever again. So guys were going out there and going 100 miles an hour in front of nobody because they had to show their stuff. Because I said before, man, the window of opportunity, it closes just as fast as it opens. So like, if it's open, get in it, do what you got to do, and like, let's see what shakes out. The pandemic era of wrestling, man, for me it really started to separate people in terms of like who really wanted to be a part of this thing and like who didn't. So like those guys out there who were really hustling during the pandemic, that whole Ring of Honor time, man, hustling through the pandemic, man, that was a time and a half, man. that was a real time and a half. But I wouldn't give it up for anything, because at that time we were like you said, we put on the best wrestling in the world at that point.
You were putting on the best wrestling in the world, and it's a double-edged sword, because now Ring of Honor isn't even a shell of what it was. I'm not even talking about back when it was like you know who the big time stars were, but not even a shell of itself in the pandemic era of wrestling. It could, like, now's Ring of Honor couldn't even touch that, the way that just everybody, everything that we watched. I mean, it wasn't as easily accessible to watch Ring of Honor all the time, but when it was
No.
on, I made it a point. When it came on YouTube, I made it a point. If it was an hour I had to take out of my day, it was an easy hour to watch because I knew what I was getting. They simplified it so much, and I love that because nowadays wrestling seems like it's just all over the place and it's way too hard to good wrestling. You're gonna get some guys you've never seen before. You're gonna get some guys that you've seen before and you know what they can do, but they're gonna go out and do it, and they're gonna elevate everybody that's around them. That to me, that's what it seemed like. It seemed really
You
easy.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong in like what you're saying, because to me that's a very legitimate, that's a very valid criticism. Now I am going to look at this from the outside. I mean, with devil's advocacy and say, man, the Sinclair era of Ring of Honor and the Tony Khan era of Ring of Honor are two separate different things, and
They
trying to
are.
compare one to the two, man, one's going to easily overshadow the other just from the sheer history of it all. Because you look at, like I said, that era Ring of Honor that me and you kind of came up with, man. Look what those guys are at now.
Mm-hmm.
Look where they're at now. That's going to take some time. Unfortunately, that takes time. What Ring of Honor is now isn't what it was 3 years ago. It's not. It's complete redo and a complete like remake of everything, which is, first of all, good for them. I want nothing but success for those boys at all, man. When
Yeah.
wrestling prospers, I'm super, super happy. But somebody say, "Hey, do you ever want to work for Ring of Honor?" I'm like, well, they have my number. It really hasn't changed. But at the same time, I know what I want to do. And there's some things I'm just not really willing to do just yet. So, but I remember like having to wait till like Saturday at 12 o'clock for Ring of Honor to come on, because that was the only time slot they could fit in
Yeah.
on UPN or something like that, and that's really where I got a chance to watch it. But like I said, what we're used to, man. Wrestling's not there. The demographic's not us anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really not.
I had to realize that
Yep.
I am no longer the target demographic, and I'm okay with it. But because I'm okay with it, I'm like, well, they're not doing this. Man, it's cool. You're not getting this towards me anymore. It's fine. It's okay. I have YouTube. I'll just go watch all the old stuff. It's no big deal, because that was geared towards me. And then because of that, man, I could just filter out some of this nonsense now where I just don't care, because I'm like, this isn't geared towards me. So I tell people all the time, wrestling doesn't always have to be about me. It's quite all right. I still like to take it in as I can as a fan, but for the most part, man, like, oh man, it's starting to move a whole different direction. And if I don't want to watch it, well, guess what, Holmes? I don't have to watch it, and I'm okay with it. Everything doesn't need my opinion.
Yeah, I've come across like that is my line of thinking right now. Like I do this show, but there's some things that I just can't watch. It's not for me, and I know that, and I know that.
And it's
So
okay. And,
yeah,
and it, you know, and it's okay. I tell people all the time, because people ask about different genres of wrestling. I'm like, every wrestling is an art, and art is subjective, and with that, everything has an audience, and not everything is going to appease all the people all the time, and that is okay. But just because I don't like one thing doesn't mean that like I don't like all the other things. Like, no, this isn't geared towards me, but this is. So I'd rather consume this and everything around this, and I can like this without like crapping on this. But
yeah.
some people don't see it that way.
But I will say this: I wish there was something that was on television that was just. I'll just say the Pure Division comes back, or something in that art form. It just comes back and it's just wrestling. Like when I remember ROH used to come on before, I forget what the hell it used to come on before. It was, I forget what channel it was too, but it was like a channel that was all the way up there, and it was like an hour, and I was like, man, this is was it TNA? It might have been TNA. It came on before what something, but it was like it was a good lead in. And that was like the first time I ever saw a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
This was probably it was a little while ago, but it was and you're just like, man, like this guy gets the hell beat out of him all the time, and he just keeps coming back. And you're like, there's something admirable about that.
People can relate to that.
Mhm.
People can relate to it. I just spent 4 days in North Carolina, and that was like, we were all going out to eat and just talking, and people were asking like, yo, how do you get people to like, somebody asked about like selling, and I was just like, yo, man, you got to be able to relate to people. That's all it is. I was like, yo, even the lowest common denominator knows what it feels like to get punched in the face. everybody understands what that feels like. Not everybody knows what it means to like tear a knee or this, that, and the other. But but most of us been punched in the mouth before. We know how that feels. So like if you're going to be in a match with somebody and you get punched in the face, yo man, like that dude wants to relate to that. So do what you got to do to like relate to people. Yo, it was so much fun getting a chance to like talk wrestling with like other young kids who are just like coming up and everything like that, and trying to like talk to them like we are right now about like, yo, this is what wrestling used to be before like the internet,
Before social media.
or
Yeah.
before social media, where you had to trade tapes. Like people are like, what do you mean? What's a tape? And I'm just like, yo, I will hit you. I will hit you, man. Don't you do this to me. you know. But getting a chance to talk to him about that type of stuff, man, like it was fun. It let me realize how far wrestling has gone in a very short amount of time, especially with like the age of technology and everything like that. But it was good to be able to like to for a little bit just kind of like connect with everybody. For some people who've like, they've really seen me before. So they like, I go out there and wrestle, like, yo, we gotta talk, man. Like, how do you do this? I'm like, yeah, sure, come on, man, let's get it.
That's one thing I think fascinates me about pro wrestling is, I mean, me and Joe were only 10 months apart in age, and growing up at the same time period, watching the same type of wrestling, and going through the different eras, if you want to call them, of pro wrestling, and even the eras before us, which when you're younger, that seems like an eternity before you. I mean, the
Right.
golden age of wrestling in the 80s, just at the end of the 80s is when we started to watch. And then throughout the Attitude Era, throughout Ruthless Aggression Era, and then the boom of everything else, like you look at that and you think everything before you was ancient. And now you have the people that
Mhm.
are watching, you see the kids in the crowd at WWE and at AEW, and you see them watching this wrestling, it being their first wrestling, to even think about them thinking about the Attitude Era, like we thought about the 70s
Right.
and early 80s
Right.
of wrestling. Like it's weird how that circle comes around, and then you have to, like you said, sit down and you're talking about all these older things in wrestling that they think is impossible. But it's funny to see that come right back around to you when you were that kid living that same way.
I had to tell we was out the country. I had to tell one of my buddies about how I used to have to sneak. I had to stay up late on Saturday so I could sneak watching ECW before I went to church on Sunday. And he was like, what do you? He goes, what do you mean? I was like, yo, man, ECW come on at 12 because at the time, yo, you weren't putting that on TV,
Yep,
and
you weren't
so I
allowed to
had to
watch
sneak
it.
downstairs. I had to sneak downstairs and watch it, knowing my butt had to get up and go to church the next day. But I didn't care because I was about to watch Taz and Sabu.
Mhm.
And he was like, I've never seen. He was a young guy, but I love him to death. He's like, I've never seen it. So we sat down and had a like education of like old ECW. I showed him like Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka. I'll show him Bam Bam Bigelow and Taz, and Rob like Rob Van Dam, and he was losing his mind. He was like, these people are insane. And I'm like, dude, back in the day, man, you want to talk about a pop? That place used to be rocking, man. And it was just wild to see him just like, yo, I gotta watch all this stuff. And we're like, we just gave the remote control, just walked away, like, all right, man, we'll see you later. You're done for the
Yeah. Now, did your mom know that you were stayed up late to watch that? Something tells me that she
Nope.
didn't know. She never
Nope.
said it, or she didn't know,
No,
because
she never said it.
moms
Here's the
know
thing, though.
everything.
But all that mattered was I got up and I was ready for church.
All
That
right.
was
True.
it.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, I'm always up, so who cares? It doesn't matter. Like I'll let that happen. But and she wasn't a big fan of me watching wrestling at first. And then she considered everything else I could be getting into. And she was like, well,
It could be a lot
okay,
worse.
like, yeah, all right. I gotta give him something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she knew what it was about. I mean, ECW is a
Yeah.
completely different story altogether.
Yeah.
But I mean, every person in their 30s, 40s, 50s, when we started watching wrestling, they knew what it was all about. It was, for the most part, harmless with a little bit of nonsense.
That's all it was, man. And my mom called it, she's like, it's a soap opera for guys. And
Yeah,
I was like, no, it's
literally
not.
just referenced that last week.
Mhm.
It is a
Yeah,
soap opera.
I remember his kids like, no, it's not. And as an adult, I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
grew up.
you're so right.
I grew up, and I'm like, yeah, this is a soap opera, but it's a very enjoyable one for me.
I love it. Like they're gonna fight after this. I'm all about this.
Yeah. I don't care what happens before. They're just going to fight. We know what's going to happen, but they're going to do it. And
Yeah,
there's going to be
these
a
guys
lot
will
of
get thrown off a
pageantry.
cage. Yeah, and I can't wait.
So, what is your? You said that like you have things in wrestling that may appeal to you, and obviously some of the demographic not being for you. What is it you look for as a fan of professional wrestling? Like, what is it? What draws you as far as the style goes?
Honestly, man, I don't really call it so much a style. I'm a fan of being entertained. I
Mhm.
want to be entertained. I don't want to shoehorn somebody saying you have to entertain me like this. In this landscape of wrestling, I'm like, hey, man, I don't care how you wrestle. Entertain me. That's what I'm
Yeah.
here for. That's what I'm paying you for to entertain me. How you want to tell that story is the way you want to tell that story. But man, you got to get me. I don't want to say get me involved, but you got to get me invested. So a lot of times when I'm looking at stuff, I'm looking at it from a fan standpoint. I'm like, yo, can you keep me invested? And when I'm looking at that, and this is when once behind the curtain, it really does bug me a little bit. Because at this point in time, now I'm looking at you up and down, like as a character, when you come through the curtain, hey man, can you portray who you are without telling me who you are? Can I look at you and be like, oh, I know who this guy is? Or at least have a general idea of what's going on? Can you make me put my phone down?
Yeah, that's a
That's
big
what I
one.
would. Can you make me put my phone down? That goes for baby faces or heels. Can you make me put my phone down? Honestly, I can really give two craps about the moves. I like watching about the moments in between. Like those, to me, that's the story in the story. Those are the level of nuances. I'm a theater kid, man, so I'm here for all of this. I'm like, I'm gonna know about um, like how's your selling? Can you once again, can you relate to me? Can you show me what that you are in pain and can you show me what is hurting without telling me what is hurting? Um, does it make sense? Does it make sense?
Sure.
If the finish is going to be a certain way, like are we alluding to this? Is this coming back later, or are we just gonna do something flash out of the pan because it looks cool? Don't get me wrong, there's times where I'm like, that looks super cool and that's awesome. But but most time it doesn't really happen like that. So when I'm watching a match, I'm like, cool. In my head, we gotta start hitting all these boxes for me to be like, this is really, really good. And people ask me, hey, what's your favorite match that checks all the boxes for you? And I was like, dude, you ready for this? I was like, Monday Night Raw, Gold Rush Challenge, HBK, Shelton Benjamin, every single box. Every single box.
A
That is
great
my
match.
favorite match of all time. Like that's the match that made me want to become a professional wrestler. I was like,
Really?
this
Wow.
is yeah. And I got a chance to tell Shelton Benjamin that to his face, and it was the coolest thing I ever did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, man. So yeah, when I'm watching it, if within reason, depending on what I'm watching, I'm like, that's what I'm at. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm asking. Like, why are we having this match? Is it just cold? And if it's cold, okay, do I get a story within this? And all that good stuff. For me, I love a good story. Love a good story. I love a good build up, man. Like, take me along the ride with you. I want to be just as emotionally invested as you are. I'm a big advocate of like, I don't look at a crowd. Like I don't look at them. What am I looking at them for? I'm not wrestling them. I'm wrestling the guy across from me. Like I hear them. I hear them, and if they want something, I'm not going to give it to them. If they want me to do something one more time, like one more time, yeah, no, whatever. Because that's just who I am. I'm always that guy. I'm also a big component of I ain't got to send this crowd home happy. Like, bump this crowd, boo your damn self. I don't care. I do what I want to do. But like I said, if I'm watching it, though, man, I want to be entertained. I want to be able to be like pull someone like, yo, that was really good. Like those boys really put that thing out there like that. I don't care who's in it. It's intergender. I don't care. Does it make sense? Deathmatch wrestling. I don't care. Does it make sense? Lucha. I don't care. Does it make sense? Make it make sense to me. And I'm here. I'm here for everything else you want to do.
All right, so I got a follow up to that.
All right.
So what's either a match, a storyline, or even a wrestler in general, someone that you didn't think was going to get you or invest you or rope you in, but it did?
Ooh, that's a good one. 'Cause okay. Um, so what really roped me in, I didn't think I was gonna get roped in, was Progress Wrestling. Pete Dunne did it. It was wild. Pete Dunne did it. He was on a tear out there, man. And like I know he's going through his thing, right? But like he had a program with Travis Banks, and Travis couldn't get over the top of him, man. And they had had the last match, I think, at Alexandria Palace, and the crowd started getting into it because every time Pete would do something, man, Travis would kick out, big kick, big kick, and the crowd got involved and started chanting, "You can't beat him." And it got to the point where Pete Dunne would look at the crowd. He started crying because every time he would do something else, Travis would just kick out, kick out. And it would just get louder and louder and louder. And just to see, Pete Dunne, who was just massive heel, bullish heel, just break down because he knew the crowd was right. Like, I can't beat this guy. I can snap everything, but he's going to keep getting up. And then, when Travis finally go over, the pop of that thing was amazing. Like, it was deafening. You couldn't hear anything. It was absolutely out of this world, but like it caught me off guard because I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for the crowd to become a part of the story. Like, and I already felt the story along anyway, but that match, I was just like, yo, I wasn't ready for this. Like, that was to the point where I had to go back and just, let me watch this again, man. Hold on, hold on, hold on. That was super, super cool, man. And then individually, man, Darius Carter. Darius Carter is a heel's heel. I wish Darius Carter was a lot farther than he is now. He deserves to be.
I wish
That
he
dude
grew up in a
deserves to
different era. I
I
almost
wish
wish.
I wish if he was in the 80s, this dude would have all the money still.
Yep. Yeah.
He is a heel's heel, and that dude is on the minute he walks in the door. And as a professional, I can respect the hell out of that, like, so much. He stays in it. He is that guy. He believes he's a star because he treats himself like a star because he is a star. Regardless if you see it or not, he knows he's a star, and he is. He's performed on that level before. I think it's well overdue for him to like really like get his. But I wouldn't even still say so much. It surprised me that like he was able to suck me in. I think it surprised me that it took everyone else so long to get sucked in. Like, how did you guys like not see this sooner? This guy has been killing it for a very, very long time.
Yeah, he's he could. I think he's one of those guys that can never turn. Like, I feel like
Never. He always
he's just.
finds every time you think you like him, he finds this one little thing to do, and you go, God, he's such an asshole. And you say him all over again.
He would fit in like miraculously with like an NXT crowd, like that smaller crowd, TV time. He could do it.
A NXT, a NWA,
Yeah.
that old school studio.
Yeah.
Oh, you kidding me? It'd be great.
All he'd have to do is walk out once.
Just walk out once, man. Darius Carter to me is a complete heel package. Like, you want a dastardly heel, you want a chicken shit heel, you want a, whatever heel you want, he can give it to you, and he doesn't have to change a thing.
No, very technically sound heel
Mhm.
too. Like
Been in the ring with him
he can
several
out
times. Yes, he is.
he can out wrestle you too, and he knows it. And if he
Mhm.
has to cheat in the end,
He will.
Yeah.
he will.
He will.
I mean, it's all about getting
He
the
will.
W.
And-
I mean, if he's going to be a
Brother, that's it,
champion,
man.
I mean,
That's it. That's all it takes. And I can appreciate that. I can always appreciate that.
because you're not being something or someone that you're not. Like, I feel like that's the theme of this show. You're not being something you're not. Like, that's
Right.
and it probably happens more times than not in wrestling, I would imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't peek behind too many curtains, but it's not always what you see is what you get with the wrestling world.
Right.
And a lot of the people that we're talking about, a lot of things that we're mentioning, it's kind of like you see what you see is what you get. I mean, the people that you've named, I mean, you got Darius Carter, you got Pete Dunne, you got Brian Johnson. I mean, I think one person that we're leaving out who was long overdue to get at least a little bit of a shot was Shane Taylor, because that dude was what you see, what you get.
Yeah, it's what you got.
He busted his ass everywhere he possibly was, and we've watched him for a long time, Shane Taylor, and he wouldn't bend, he wouldn't break, he wouldn't change. He was him, and he was doing it his way, like, and it wasn't the wrong way. It's just either the wrong eyes, the wrong politics. Something was wrong. I mean, it was not him.
Yeah, it was one of those things, man, where like Shane was going to do things his way because he knows his way is right, and he hasn't been let. And look at him now, like he hasn't been let down yet. So like,
No.
he must know something, you know. Very what was it? Very underrated, very underrated. He can do so much more. I always tease him. Hey, man, I know you wrestle Bandito because I've seen you do it before. So how about you get your ass down to Mexico, man? Just go down there and start just wrecking fools. And he's like, man, I'm trying. I'm like, oh, you Shane Taylor in Mexico would do numbers. Oh, hey, dude, like, come on.
That's
See him
like
alone,
bringing
just walk
Bruiser
around,
Brody
start
down. That's like Bruiser Brody going down.
Yeah.
And
just going there, just dropping hammers on people.
that's it. I mean, people
No,
paid
man,
big
it's
money to
great.
see that. So
I paid money to see that.
the heavyweight division like left in boxing, and I feel like it like went across the board. Boxing, MMA, wrestling. The heavyweight divisions, like the true heavyweight divisions, kind of all dwindled. It's the biggest money. You look at the biggest
Well,
the biggest
well,
numbers of the
it's
heavyweights.
well, because we're a spectacle. We're a
Yeah,
spectacle. That's and I here's the thing. Like I get it. Like honestly, I don't pay attention to UFC until the big boys wrestle, until the big boys fight.
Yes.
I don't pay
exactly.
attention to boxing until
Yep.
the big boys
Yeah,
fight. So like I'm
exactly.
here for this. But the thing about it, this is wrestling though. It comes in waves and all that good stuff. And because like I said, man, there was a time where man, the big man ruled the roost.
Yep.
And then out of nowhere, you got a lot of junior heavyweights, a lot of super junior stuff coming like that. And it's kind of going to this real technical type style. And then like once again, what's old is gonna come new again, and then the big man is gonna come marching right on back. And for me, it's not so much like I gotta wrestle. I gotta wrestle like you guys. I'm like, no, man, I just have to wrestle the way I wrestle because it works. And trust me, the big man's coming. And when it is, I'm already here. I'm already ready to go. There's very few guys who are over 6'3" and 250 who are on the market right now who aren't signed, like who can who are moving needles. Like it's me, it's PB Smooth, you guys like Calvin Tankman. I'm like, you guys were just out there who just going there, they're just killing it. But they're just big guys and just on the move. Most guys see that and they can't handle it.
Yeah, and the big guys move a lot better than the big guys did back in the day. I mean, the training, the dieting, the lifting, everything has changed. So you have like like the agile big men that I remember are Vader and Bam Bam. Those are the agile big men.
Right.
Like those were the guys that were huge, but they can move. Brock is a different form of anything because
Brock's
Brock
an outlier. That's an
Yeah.
outlier.
he's
That's an outlier.
he's not a human being. That guy's something
Right.
else.
But here's the thing that you just said about like now, if you're trying to move like Bam Bam and Vader, guess what, man? That's just the cover charge.
Yeah.
You got to be on that level just to get in, the door, just to somebody to look at you.
Yeah.
Like that's the to me, I'm like, that's warm up weight. Like, yeah, man, we can all do this.
Yeah.
You got to show something different now, you know. So like, once you get a big man who can a big man who can talk, a big man who can move, a big man who can actually like pace a match, a big guy who can actually produce. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like you just don't come out the gate with. It's just like, yeah, man, I may be big, but don't let your size fool you. I can do so much more.
I think the biggest point there is the talk. Just in general, it doesn't matter your size. If you can talk someone into a building, a match, anything, if you can talk that's 99. I believe because I follow the same rules as you when it comes to watching because I don't wrestle, but I watch.
Mhm.
But if you can talk to me and I can like that become invested. Frontman Ja, who we've had on a couple times,
Love him. Love him.
he any word that comes out of his mouth, anything that he produces, anything that he does, I don't care what he does in the ring. I just don't care. I mean, he's a great wrestler, but he's so much better than just wrestling. He's that guy that talks me immediately invested. I don't care who he's going up against. I'm watching it. Ja's there. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do something.
Well, here's the thing, man. They got to hear you before they can see you.
I know.
They got to hear you before they see you. You know,
Crazy.
and this is something I talked about this past weekend because everybody's asking about like how they kind of move around wrestling, and I'm like, everybody keeps thinking it's the moves or it's this and it's this. I'm like, hey man, you ever heard the phrase "the numbers don't lie"? And he was like, yeah. I was like, learn how to talk on a microphone because the only thing most promoters who are worth a damn, most bookers who are worth a damn, are going to care about is can you move tickets? Because if you can move the needle in the right direction, if you can make money either in a ring or on a microphone, yeah, man, you're gonna be fine. I was like, but don't worry about these moves. Don't worry about all this nonsense that everybody wants to tell you about. Nah, man, learn how to move, learn how to make money, learn how to move, sell tickets. If that means that you got to learn how to be on the talk on a microphone, then that's what you got to do. Because most people got to hear you before they see you. I was like, you do that, you can kill anything. You can get to the point that if you're that good on a microphone, if you have that much of a presence about yourself to where like you just showing up on a poster, take a start to move, like man, that's a license to print money that like most people don't know about because they think it's all about I have to go viral. It's like, no, I don't. I just have to sell out this building. If I can sell out this building, I can go to the next building. I can sell that one out, and I can sell the next one out, and I can sell the next one out. That's what you want to be the best wrestler in the world. Sell out buildings. That's to me. That's what makes you the best wrestler in the world.
Isn't that what Punk said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Punk's not there
He's
to make
not wrong.
friends. He's just there.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Old man Punk. I like old man Punk.
I like this Punk too. He reminds me of Old Man Brock when he threw on the cowboy hat. This is Old Man Punk, who's just happy to be there at this point.
Exactly. He's happy to be there.
I mean, it's wrestling's so interesting that there's so much. I would never thought I would say this, but there's too much. There's too much wrestling, but it is easier to find. Like, I will say social media is good for some things. As much as I hate like Twitter or X or whatever it's called, because that's a cesspool. That's ridiculous. But it does time and time again introduce you, like, because I first saw some of your stuff on social media, like clips and whatnot, and like it is good for that. Like I would have never, I probably would have never seen you in the time that I did if it wasn't for social media, or and that goes for like almost anybody who like got like really big over the past like 5 years. I mean, a lot of it is part of what you did on social media, not just in the ring. I don't think it translates always to what you're selling out in buildings because people don't. Most people that will watch you on social media will not purchase a ticket.
Yeah,
it's not you're here to the diehards. The diehards will do it.
Yes. So I always tell people like, hey man, social media doesn't make like you don't need social media to be a good wrestler. It don't hurt though.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. You know, it's like so if you're going to do it, like be good at it. It doesn't hurt. And you're right. Like the same people who kind of go off on Twitter on social media, those are the same ones. Man, they're not going to buy a ticket. They're not going to buy a T-shirt. You know, it's like it's whatever. And I'm like, and those fans are honestly, I don't care about those fans. I don't.
And you shouldn't
because once again, man, the numbers don't lie. I'm trying to make money because if I know I'm making money, I know that I'm a success and I'm still moving forward. You know what I'm saying? So like, if I can sell out tickets to the locals, that's what I'm going to do. Because if I can get 500 people in this building, there's 500 opportunities for me to make money on my merch table. There's 5 opportunities for these people to make a new fan when I go out there and wrestle. You know, social media is great, man, to boost a brand. To kind of put some stuff out there into the ether for the world to see, man. It's a tool like anything else. Social media is a tool, and if you do not know what you're doing with it, like, you ain't gonna be able to build shit because you once again, like a tool's only as good as the person using it. Simple as that. You know what I'm saying? So like when people like you said, you found me on social media because some clips, that's great. That's what I wanted to create some new fans and everywhere else that might not ever get a chance to see me live. So yeah, I keep on the socials because I have fans across the world. These people, they don't even get to see me live. So yeah, let me give you some stuff out here to keep watching. Keep me be a fan. I use social media not expecting anything out of it. You know, now I've gotten stuff out of it. Yeah, like I have, because once again, like I know what I'm doing. I treat it like a tool. I am also an adult. So, you know, like I know, sorry, you know,
You mean you're not a 14-year-old child sitting
Yeah,
in the
right?
basement?
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I know how to conduct myself because once again, I treat social media like a business. And once again, if a business is not making money, it's not a real good business. So I want to make sure, like, I keep making money. But boys, this has been a lot of fun, man. This has been a lot of fun.
O'Shea,
All
thank
right.
you
We
so much.
appreciate
Thanks for the
this.
time. Really appreciate it. We can't wait to see you September 8th, Austin
September 8th.
City, Fight Pro. We can't wait.
South
If anyone has
Jersey.
it, go get tickets and go see this monster of a man and his debut at Fight Pro. So thank you so much again, and we'll see you September 8th.
Appreciate you, boys. Thank you.
All right, thank you.